You're going to need one deck of cards minus the jokers. You're going to need a pair of scissors and a pen. Here is the setup. Standard deck of cards should have 52 of them in here. You're going to separate out the pack of cards. So I'm going to show you, this is already set up, but I'm going to show you what you would do generally. You would take out some pairs of cards. To begin, let's say I always like using the red 7s as my starter. I always use the red 7, so I would find a red 7, and I'd put each one in a pile. Then I'm going to start going through. I told you I already have these set up, but I'm showing you what you would do with a regular deck. You'd find another set of cards, so maybe black kings. Okay, we do black kings, and then we do black aces maybe, and I've got black 10s. I just keep pairs together. You're just going to go through here and make it mixed up. So I've got 3 blacks in a row, so now I'm going to do some reds. I've got red jacks, I've got red 4s. Now one thing I just want to mention is I put the black aces in here on purpose in these piles. You always want to do that because the ace of spades is a card that stands out. You want it to remain in these piles so later on people don't accidentally see it in the first one. I'll get back to that, but always have the black aces in here. And so on and so forth. We're going to keep going through here. I used black 6s, then there's black 3s, red 10s. Do any order you'd like, as long as they're matching. Doesn't matter what the suits are. I'll show you mine. Maybe black 7s, red 8s, red queens. Another one. Always have the red queens in here somewhere or another because the queen of hearts is a card that stands out. People tend to remember her. Red 9s, black 8s, black jacks, red 5s, and I always like to end on black 2s. That's a personal preference. I just like it. There are 17 cards in both piles. 17 cards in each. These are going to form blocks B and C, respectively. That's what we'll call them, blocks B and C. Block A is the remaining 18 cards. Take and shuffle it up. Shuffle it legitimately. Mix them. Doesn't matter. This is what you're going to hand the spectator to shuffle at the beginning. This is what's going to be legitimately shuffled up. This is block A. Mixed up. Now, I like to use the 7 of hearts as the top card for block B. It does not matter. Do whichever one you like. That's the top card of block B. What I do is I take the pen and I'm going to mark the card. I mark the card by putting pen dots on all 4 corners. It's exactly what it sounds like. Just take the pen, make a little dot. It doesn't have to be that big. I want it to be just big enough so when you're spreading the cards, you can always see it. No matter what the lighting conditions, nobody but you will ever notice it. So put dots on the opposite corners, and if you really want to be safe, put it on all 4 corners. As long as when you're spreading the cards, you can see that dot, you're all set. So the 7 of hearts is marked with pen dots. That's going to be block B. Block C, which is in identical order, I have the 7 of diamonds. I'm going to take the 7 of diamonds, and with my scissors, I'm going to trim the card. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to cut. And I'm going to shorten this card. It was already shortened, so I've now cut off a part of the edge of the card. You can see how this is now straight as opposed to this rounded edge. You can see it on there. It's not very big. It's just enough so when you riffle, it'll snap off your finger. I've made this into a short card. That's going to be the top card of block C. Block C goes on the bottom, so that's the 7 of diamonds. Block B with the pen dotted 7 of hearts goes on top, followed by block A. You are now ready to go. Just to really quickly go over it. 18 cards on top are random. You should know exactly when they end because you can see the pencil dot and pen dots on the sides of the 7 of hearts. To feel where block C is, all I have to do is riffle up the back. Listen to this for a moment. I'm going to bring this near the microphone. You can hear that noise. I feel right at that moment that I've cut at the 7 of diamonds. That's the reason for the short card. That's block C, block B, block A. Put it away. That is the deck of cards you're going to need for perfection. This is the explanation of perfection. This is one of my favorite card effects. It falls under the category of mentalism in the sense that it's very similar to sympathetic cards. It's people mix, you mix, and they're all the same. It's just an amazing coincidence. You can easily give this a mental spin if you want. Now, the most important part of this trick, the aspect, the thing that I want to present up front, is the way that you perform it, and that is on the offbeat. Let me explain what I mean. There's 2 different ways that people interact with each other as a performer. One, you've just approached a group, you start performing, and they're watching you in a certain way. They're watching while you perform very carefully. And once you've done a few tricks and they start talking to you like a regular person, you're no longer Mr. Magic at that moment. You're not the performer. You're just the regular guy. They're, oh, so how long have you been into this? What got you into this? And they're talking to you and they're not watching you the same way. That's the offbeat. That moment is where they've taken a breath, they've relaxed, and that's when you can perform a move. You have the best misdirection in the world. The key is to create that moment. Now at the beginning of this effect, when I'm false shuffling and I'm randomly talking, it should seem like I don't know what I'm about to do. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do next. So I say, do me a favor, grab some cards, give them a shuffle while we think about, while I figure out what to do. Notice what I said, while I figure out what I'm going to do. I want it to seem as if we haven't started a trick. I'm not in performance mode. We're still in the offbeat. And I say, you know what, he's looking at you, he's jealous, hand it to him too, you shuffle. All the while I'm shuffling. Meanwhile, it's just a false overhand shuffle, which is explained in a different section. The next person shuffles, I tell them to come up on stage or come next to me and deal. And by the time we get over here and start dealing the cards, that's when the trick begins. That's when we go into performance mode. The entire method has been done. Everything that you need to do moves-wise is done at that point. The trick is over as far as the performer is concerned. For everybody else, it's just beginning. That's the key to the offbeat. The beginning should not feel like a procedure. There should be no challenge. You shouldn't say to the spectator, oh, make sure you're shuffling good. It should seem completely at ease and totally just natural. Normal, mix them up, we'll get started. Now, the setup for perfection. There's good news and there's bad news. The good news is it's quite easy to do. The bad news is it does require a stack. We're going to label the deck in a certain way. The cards happen to be red that I'm using. This is a red deck of cards. However, just for explanation purposes, I'm going to throw in a block of 18 blue cards. It's going to make things a little easier to explain. The top 18 cards of this deck, the order doesn't matter. They're legitimately shuffled. We're going to go ahead and call these top 18 Block A. Their order does not matter. This is Block A, 18 cards, does not matter. Now, Block B and Block C are going to be set up in identical fashion. What that means is Block A, the Block B. These are 17 each. Do the math. 17 plus 17, 34 plus 18, 52. We've got a full deck. The top card for me in Block B is always the 7 of hearts. Just I do it by force of habit, and I always remember it, 7 of hearts. In this case, the next card might be a Black 5, a Black Jack. You get the idea. And a red 4. So if that was 7, 5, Jack, 4, the same exact cards, the mates, the red 7, that's going to be the top card of Block C, followed by a Black 5, a Black Jack, a red 4, and all the way through to the end, they both end on a Black 2 in this case. You're going to set up 2 of the cards. It should take no more than 2 seconds each to do. You can do without. I'm going to explain to you in a moment how to do without this setup. I'm going to exaggerate this a little bit. I'm going to take the 7 of hearts, the top card of Block B, the 7 of hearts in this case, and I'm going to use a pen. I'm going to pen dot the corners, all 4. You could just do the upper left and the lower right, but if you want to be safe, just do all 4. The reason is when you spread it, you want it to be very crystal clear that these corners are marked. I really exaggerated here so you can see it clearly. Those corners are all marked on the 7 of hearts. That's the top card of Block B. Now his mate, the 7's mate, in this case, is the 7 of diamonds. This is the top card of Block C. I'm going to take a pair of scissors, and I'm going to cut the tip off of this 7. I'm creating a short card. So this is now a short card. What this allows you to do is riffle up the back and instantly be able to feel it. If you'd like, you can clip the corners. It's completely up to you. This is just a preference for me. It allows for a very quick finding of between B and C. I can establish a quick break. Excuse me. Top card of Block C. So there we go. Block C, 7 of diamonds is on top, followed by Block B with the pen dotted 7 of hearts, followed by what we're going to use in this case. I'm going to switch them in. Blue. I want you to see the contrast. We have blue and we have red. Block A is going to be blue cards. Remember, Block A's order does not matter. Don't use blue cards in real life. This trick will not work out nearly as well. Here we go. Now, everything about this trick revolves around psychology and what they end up remembering. It's like I said earlier, the offbeat. The key to this effect is that people think in their mind, this is what they think when they recreate it. They say, he handed me, or I grabbed a deck of cards about half, I shuffled, and then we both dealt and both our halves were the same. That's what you want them to remember, that exact image, because that is impossible to reconstruct. They know they shuffled their cards. So to begin, I'm going to create that impression that they're getting about half the deck and they're grabbing as many as they want. Neither of those are true. Here's how it works. I'm going to be assisted by the lovely Mindy. Come on in. Fantastic. Step a little closer. Here's what we're going to do. I just want to show you an example of what it would be like when you walk up to somebody and say, do me a favor, grab a bunch of cards. Generally, when you walk up and spread the cards out, they're going to want to pick one. But I say, no, grab a bunch. So do me a favor, grab out, a stack of cards. Yeah, just grab them out. Now notice what I just did. I kept spreading. Let me just show you real quick. As I'm spreading, she's trying to grab them, but you can't do it because my hands are in the way. They're in motion. So I don't let her get those cards until I reach my pen dotted card. Now in this case, it's glaringly obvious because you can see the red and the blue. The reason you have the pen dots is so I can tell that card instantly. I don't need a break. I know this is the 7 of hearts, and that is, in essence, the top card of block B. Now here's the wording I use as soon as she grabs the cards. I'm going to spread them out. I say, do me a favor, grab out a bunch of cards. Yeah, whatever you want. Grab them, yeah, 20, 30, whatever. Listen to what I just said. These are the key. These are the impression I'm putting in her mind. Grab as many as you want. Yeah, 20, 30, that's good. So I've just created that seed of doubt in everybody else's mind, and hopefully in hers as well, that she's grabbed about half the deck. She knows it's not quite half, but most lay audiences, they don't deal with cards enough to know exactly how many. So if you tell them it's about 20 or 30, they're in their mind thinking it's about half the deck. And that's when I say, do me a favor, go ahead and mix yours up a little. I am doing a false overhand false overhand shuffle. And I'm just doing this casually while pattering. You want to be aware of your audience at this point. If people are getting bored, you don't want them to keep shuffling. It should be a quick, fun thing. I'll usually joke around. Look at him. He's eyeing up those cards. Hand it to him as well. She'll hand it to somebody else. Somebody else hands it. Meanwhile, I do a few shuffles. The whole shuffling sequence should be 2 or 3 spectators and no more than a minute. You shouldn't have people getting bored on you. You don't want a lot of downtime. This should be quick and to the point. Now, as soon as the last person is starting to wrap up, you see them starting to finish their shuffle, here's the reason for having a short card. I'm going to bring this close to the microphone because I want you to hear this, okay? This is the reason. Listen to this. There it is. That noise is me riffling up the back and hitting that short card. There's no way you can miss it. That's the beauty of it. As soon as I get that opening, I just stick my pinky in there. I've got a pinky break between my 2 halves. So this is now block B with the 7 of hearts on top, and this is block C with the 7 of diamonds. There we go. That's the only reason for the short card. Now, if you didn't have the short card, all you would need to do is look down while he's finishing up his shuffling, he or she, and you'll see the 7 of diamonds pass, and then get your pinky break. Just insert your pinky and let the deck fall. You have a pinky break between this block B and block C. Great. Thank you so much. Now, at this point in time, 1 or 2 people have shuffled. The person, maybe 3 people have shuffled. You've got a break between piles B and C. This is pretty much the only real move in the routine. This is the key. Now, this is one of those moves, like a top change, where people are very nervous. And you can't be nervous. You've got to relax, and you've got to do it on the offbeat. Here's the key. If somebody has the cards and they finish shuffling, if I reach my hand out, the natural inclination for somebody like that is to simply hand you the cards. They're my cards. I handed them to you to shuffle, so I'm done. So here, take them back. You never, ever want to say, let me take the cards back. Because as soon as you say words, memories are created. That's the way things work. So I don't want them to ever remember me getting the cards back. This is just done under the context of a gesture. So I hold my hand out, they hand me the cards, and now this is the moment. What happens is I point. I say, you shuffled, all of you guys shuffled these cards. And in this gesture of pointing to everybody and moving from side to side, as I go, I would point to the right, here, here, and then my hands come together, and I ask them, now all of you guys shuffled, how many times did you say you shuffled these cards? That isn't a question that most people can answer off the top of their head. It's not like saying, what's your name? And you say, oh, Kevin, or O's. You can't say it quickly. You got to think. When you think, you tend to look up. It's just NLP. You probably will look up and go, oh, I don't know, 4 or 5. They'll look at each other. That's your moment. That's when the hands are going to come together. Notice the blue pile, block A, in my right hand. And over here, we've got a break between B and C. At that moment, my hands come together, and it's done. Look, I now have block B, which is the red cards, and block A is now over here. So I've switched these top 18 cards, block A for block B. Okay, block A is switched for block B. We're going to get in close. I'm going to show you how this switch works. The hands are going to come in. The key part of this move is the way you hold each pile. The thumb of the right hand is going to be holding the inner right corner. The outer right corner is held by the middle finger. The ring finger is free. This is critical. The ring finger is free. I want you to notice that. The hands are going to approach one another. As they do, you're going to turn this pile in your right hand at a complete angle. You want it at a nice swivel, at least 20 or 30 degrees. Overdo it. It's better to overdo it than underdo it. You want this pile to go directly into the crotch of your thumb. I want you to see, right when I get to this point, I'm going to freeze frame this so you can see this. Look at the angle of that pile. It should be almost, not at a right angle, but at a 30 to 45. I mean, it is really turned. It's in the crotch of my thumb, and now look at my left thumb. It can clamp right down on the corner, the upper left corner of that top pile, block A. Now, at that moment, you'll see that my right thumb is right here near the inner right corner of block B. It's just naturally, when you get to this point, it's sitting right there. My ring finger of my right hand is right near the outer right corner of block B. So this pile goes in, block A, clamped by the left thumb. The ring finger grabs the outer right corner, the thumb grabs the inner right, takes it away, and as the hands part, this pile gets squared up, and you maintain a pinky break with your left pinky between the piles, between block A and C. So you've effectively just switched the cards that they were shuffling for a stacked pile of 17 in block B. So once again, the key to doing this move properly and not having the cards get mixed is having it turned and making sure you don't double use fingers. No fingers have more than one task. As soon as this gets here, your ring finger and your thumb grab the corners and it goes away, and that's it. It happens in a natural gesture, and it happens while people are looking at each other and you've asked a question. It's completely on the offbeat. Now, once you've done this and you've handed them back, as soon as I do this, I say, how many times did you guys shuffle? I do the switch, and they say about 10 or so. I go, oh no, hold on, I never want to touch them. This is another sly move. What I'm saying is what they're going to remember. Now, this person that I've just done this with, they have a lot going on. Well, I shuffled, and now how many times did I shuffle? I don't really remember. So they just put under a little bit of pressure. When I hand this to them, I go, no, hold on, I never want to touch them. That's the memory that gets created. Some of the other people that aren't paying attention closely or just watching, they hear those words too. I'm going to say them once or twice more throughout the routine. I want them to never remember that I ever touched the cards. Once again, that's why I never asked for the cards. I just took them, and as if I was gesturing, how many times did you guys shuffle? 10? Yeah, I never want to touch them. The cards come to your hands for literally a split second. I get these blue ones. They're blue, so this is block A. I gesture, I ask the people, how many times would you say? About 5 or 6? Yeah, hold on to them. I never want to touch them. They're being given back block B. All that's left to do is to switch block C and block A. What that means is you're going to cut this one to the top. Now there's two methods for doing this. One is the pass. Now I know that's going to scare a lot of people. They don't like doing the pass. They feel their pass isn't that good. There's tons of misdirection for it. I'm going to show you 3 different ways that you can pull off the pass right in front of their eyes. No one's going to see it. 3 different moments you can create. The other option, if you really are no good with cards, just give it a cut. Cut the deck. That's it. Now how can we create the misdirection so nobody's watching your hands? Keep in mind, the trick is only starting now. As far as everyone's concerned, they've just been mixing. You said, you mixed them? Good, perfect. They're random, come on up. The trick is only started now, you're almost done. To create the offbeat, motion is important. You can either move to the spectator or the spectator can move to you. An example, if somebody's seated about 2 chairs from me, I could say, you know what, I want you to come up on here next to me and deal. Them moving from there to here is the perfect opportunity for me to do the pass. I just did one. Or to just cut the deck. As they're coming up, yeah, come on over, let me move, slide things out of the way. Just the way I went out of frame on camera is the same way you go out of frame in their mind. They don't know, you're just helping the person up. Or you walk to them, say, let me come over here next to you. And you come over next to them, you either do the pass or you give the deck a cut. Either or. Now, sometimes neither of those two make sense. You really don't have an opportunity to move, the person's right next to you, it doesn't make sense. So here's the most popular way of doing it. They now have block B. Let's reiterate. This is the 7 of hearts, the top card of block B. In my hand, just a position check. These cards are blue, they represent block A, the real shuffled ones that they shuffled up. And on the bottom is block C with the short 7 of diamonds. So that's where we are, position check. The person is next to me. They have their cards. I tell them, you know what? Do you know how they deal blackjack, how they deal the cards face up? Do me a favor, deal your top card face up. The moment when they deal their card face up, everybody is looking there. That's the focal point of attention. Everyone wants to see, oh, what's the card? What's this all about? When they're looking there, you could pull a parrot out of your jacket. You could do anything. Nobody is looking at you. So at that moment, right when they do, I go deal that card down. And look at how I exaggerate this motion. My hands come together, and you can either pass the cards, do a pass, or just casually cut the deck. Just look, just a nice casual cut. Don't make a big move of it. keep your arms loose, and don't be tense. That's it. You've just moved block C to the top. They're holding block B. Trick is over. They've dealt the top card, in this case the 7 of hearts of block B. At that point, you're going to deal the top card. They're going to see that they match. You start dealing again together. They deal a card, you deal a card. And the next card matches. At this point, usually between the second and third card, when you guys are dealing these face up on the table, at the same time, people start to laugh. They have to break the tension. It is just too amazing. People are starting to grasp, oh my God, these cards are all in the same order. And this is important. As I keep dealing, I up the tempo. I start dealing faster because you don't want it to lag. You want them to keep going through, oh my God, every single card. And now I tell the story. What do I mean by the story? This is the memory I'm going to create in their mind. I say, every single card in the deck, I watched you guys each shuffle these cards. I'm saying this as I'm dealing. I watched you guys shuffle these cards. I never touched any of these cards. Every single card in the deck. And I go through and boom, we end on the same note. And bam. Everybody sees that, they go nuts. Now, I am not dealing through all my cards. Keep in mind, I still have 18 more cards. How do I know when to stop? Well, when they've run out of their last card, that's my last card too. In essence, at that point, once we've dealt all our cards, it would both be the last cards, the black 2s at the end. So once we finish dealing, I still hold cards. At this point, I don't make a trick of this. This is not a move. This is nothing. I hold the cards in my hand, just like you normally would. I might move them a little deeper. This is called gambler cop. So instead of having it in mechanics grip up here, it moves a little further in between the knuckles of my ring and middle finger. And I just hang my hand at my side. That's it. Very loose, very casual. I don't make a display of it. And I let them take this in. I've never once had somebody say, what's in your hand at the end? Because there's no reason. The trick is over. They've seen what happened. This is the image you want in their mind. All the cards have been dealt. They should think half the deck was yours, half the deck was theirs, and they dealt everything, and every single card in the deck matches. If that's what they think, this trick becomes impossible to reconstruct because they know physically that they shuffled half the deck. So even if you did anything, any move, even though you didn't have time to, there's no way you could unshuffle their cards or see what their cards were and stack your cards the same way. That's why this is such a powerful effect. It blows people away. The whole routine should take no more than 2 to 3 minutes. And in their minds, they did the shuffling and they come up and deal. The whole trick takes about a minute. It's a very fast, powerful card effect. Now, at the end, you're left with block A in Gambler Cop. Put your pinky down. So you've got your pinky. The pile that you just dealt is going to be block C. Okay? So this is block A, block C, the one with the 7 of diamonds on the bottom. That's the one you just dealt. You're going to pick that pile up using these face up. You're going to pick that one up and keep a pinky break. So position check. This is block A. That's why they're blue, the ones that are really shuffled. I just picked up, scooped them up. This is block C. And now with the pinky break between block A and C, I now scoop up block B, which is the 7 of hearts on top, and I give a cut. And what I've just done is move block A back on top. You can see the blue cards, you can see the pendotic red, the 7 of hearts, and block C. I've just reset the deck. I put this back in the box. We are reset. This trick is ready to go again at a moment's notice. Now this is one of those things I wouldn't really do as an opener. It can serve as a closer or it can be in the middle. It's that powerful to be a closer. If I'm doing this with other card effects, I might do one other thing first and then I do a deck switch. Now, the power of this routine, I normally never carry an extra deck with just one trick. It's just too much real estate for me, too much pocket space to carry a deck for one trick. This gets such good reactions that it's worth it. This is the false overhand shuffle that I use quite often. It's used on the DVD in Perfection, and it's also used with business cards in 21st Century Phantom. So keep that in mind. You can do this with any card-shaped items. It's very convincing, and pound for pound in terms of how much energy you have to put into learning it and how much you get out of it, it's very, very worth it. It's quite easy, and you don't have to think about it. That's the beauty. The break that you get is so big and massive that it's almost impossible to screw it up. It's mindless. So, you put in a few hours, a few weeks of practice, you'll be set. Now, a real overhand shuffle, let me just show you a real overhand shuffle from a side view, is when you take a packet, and then your left thumb takes another packet on top of that one, and the next pile goes on top of that one, and you continue all the way through, so you're taking packets, and they're getting shuffled one on top of another. That's a legitimate shuffle. The false shuffle is a false overhand running shuffle, which means it's iterative. It's just the same thing happens over and over. In the end of the shuffle, the deck goes the same way. You could do 3 of them, you could do 10 of them. It makes no difference. Now, to give you an idea of how this works, just like normal, you take the top one. In fact, what I'm going to do here, turn over the top card here for you, 6 of spades, that way you'll be able to see what's going on. I take the top pile into my left hand like a real shuffle. Up until now, the shuffles are identical. As my right hand comes over to deposit more cards on top of this pile, I'm going to steal. Look how my right ring finger and middle finger open up, and using those two, I'm going to grab, pinch that corner of the first pile, boom, pinch it, and I use my left thumb to pull another pile into my left hand, stealing away the first pile that was shuffled, bam. I come back over, I do the same thing. Watch, as I get closer, my right ring finger opens, grips, and I steal that pile back under the top one. And I keep doing that over and over and over. Now this is of course an exposed view, but you'll see that that's the way the shuffle looks. Now what's happening here? Why is this false? The reason this is false is because the top pile is moving to the bottom. We'll call that A. That moves to the bottom, keeping a big break so you can see this. The next pile, B, goes under A. The next pile, C, this goes under, and just like that you keep going, and every pile is going back underneath the other pile, so at the end you end the same way you started, the top, the bottom, everything all the way through. Nothing has changed. It's iterative. I want to go through this again just real briefly. I want you to see how it works. I'm taking the pile in. This is the important part. When I steal this, I want you to get a good view of just how this corner is locked in between my middle and ring finger. Okay? You're not just holding it lightly, it's locked in there. You should be able to throw your hand around and it just can't go anywhere. This is important. It should really be locked in there. That way you have a big break, your middle finger is a barrier in between your hands, and there's no way that you can mess it up. You keep going, and that's it. Let me show you this at speed from the front so you'll see what the false shuffle looks like from the front. It's, as I go through, this is exactly what it looks like. Turn this over so you can see, keep track of the top card I'm shuffling. And the card doesn't move. At the end, it goes back to being at the top, just where it was before. And just so you can get a view of what a real shuffle looks like from the front, this is the real shuffle. So they virtually look identical. And you want to get it where the pace is the same, where as you steal, the momentum is the same, the tempo is the same. You don't want to pause when stealing. You want it to look like you're just shuffling, and that's it. That's the false overhand shuffle. There's going to be some credits at the end on that one. Now what's my deck switch? I'm using a red and blue, so it's going to be a little hard. It's not going to make much sense, but let me just give you an idea. Let's pretend that each of these is, one is the Perfection deck. This will be the blue one. And the red one is my regular deck. So I've been performing. This one is in my pocket. I've performed. I just finished performing. I put the deck away. And once again, if they're both blue or they're both the same color, the way I differentiate the two is I always take the cellophane off the Perfection deck. No cellophane on the deck for Perfection. The other one has cellophane. I just cut it around. It starts about here. just the cellophane goes back on. That's it. So I can feel them apart in my pocket. I'll put this away and I go, you know what, let's try something else for you. I've got something, you know what, I'm going to try one more card one. And I put this in my pocket. It's the offbeat. No one's paying attention. And I come out with my Perfection deck. That's the deck switch I use. Nothing fancy, no moves. Just put it in my pocket and say, oh, you know what, I'll show you one more. This comes out. And I say, well, I don't know if I can do that one. You know what, take as many as you want, shuffle them up. Let me think about this. You shuffle too. And notice how it doesn't feel like I've started anything. It feels that way. Oh, what's he going to do next? By the time I start doing something, we're dealing, the trick is over. listen to me, you have to try this on people. You will not gauge how strong the reactions are. And there's quite a bit of crediting on this. That's going to be all at the end. That's perfection.